Hello, welcome to the Sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Open Series in Dallas. I am Nick Miller alongside Jeff Hoogland, Modern aficionado. How you doing, sir?
I'm fantastic.
Everywhere we go with Modern, you're there. We can always count on that. And we've seen you play mini decks here in the Sideboard from just anything you can name in the format. But what's interesting here is you had a lot of success with your Kiki core deck that you had played at the last Modern event, and you have switched mainly in part to the combination of Scapeshift and a new card here called Bring to Light, which we've seen in Standard do many things, but you were on this card pretty early when you saw it, and you've been kind of brewing the Scapeshift deck for a while. Why is it the time now to be playing Scapeshift?
Bring to Light just really kind of feels like that missing piece that this deck had. This deck was very powerful when Dig Through Time was legal, because most of the time you were digging into Scapeshift. Bring to Light is always getting you Scapeshift when you need it. And it sounds kind of weird to say, but this deck always wanted to be able to draw more Scapeshifts without having to draw more Scapeshifts. You wanted more access to that card in the late game, but less of it in the early game, and Bring to Light really does that well.
Okay. Yeah, we saw a very brief period of time, because Dig was okay in Modern for a little bit and they got rid of it pretty early, but I did see a lot of Scapeshift with that card.
Yes.
Make a very good point with Bring to Light being a similar version of that card.
And I would almost argue, after having played the Dig version a bit and this version quite a bit, that this almost feels more powerful. Namely because of the Bring to Light being able to get the Hunting Wilds is the big piece. It's the card you get second most often alongside Scapeshift, because it allows you to, if you have multiple Bring to Lights or a Bring to Light and a Scapeshift, the first Bring to Light gets Hunting Wilds and ramps you up to 7, which you can then kill them the following turn right away.
Hunting Wilds, Planar Chaos, uncommon.
Yep.
Not a lot of play. I don't think I've ever seen it in the Sideboard, at least. So you're bringing it here to light, as one would say.
Yep, and you can also kick it when you bring it to light. If you've ever I've gotten slaughtered games before, and you got to kill them without your Scapeshift, and it makes some hasty 3/3s.
All right, that's one way to beat them down, I guess. Another card, we've got Battle for Zendikar showing up. You only got one of, but a lot of people said these, battle lands that count as, the force you can get with Farseek, but also Hunting Wilds in this case.
Yep.
Only one, but have you tested it with multiple versions of that?
Yeah, I started with a 2-2 split. I tried a 3-2 split with Stomping Ground, and just suspending Search for Tomorrow on one is important enough that you want to be able to have the option to shock yourself to do it. I think the Cinderglade is really a wonderful addition to this deck, because requiring a 4th color with Bring to Light kind of puts an extra tax on the mana base. Mm-hmm. So we need to be able to play more green sources but still keep our mountain count up, and Cinderglade does exactly that.
Yeah, interesting. So of course, Bring to Light, if you want to get Scapeshift, you need 4 colors.
Correct.
Most of the time we'd seen the Scapeshift deck be a 3-color deck.
Yep.
You of course have the very small black splash here with Watery Grave and a Swamp that allows you to do that. Mainly you got a Sideboard card we'll talk about here later, but that is what the splash is for, so you can enable that.
The important thing to note with this deck is we're playing 4 colors because we have to, not because we want to. We're not oversaturating with black cards because they don't add to what the deck's trying to do and progress our game plan.
Okay. So we've seen Scapeshift before. We've seen the ramp. You got Secure Tribe Elder, Search for Tomorrow, Farseek. Some decks are on that, some don't. And then you've got your counter package, Remand, Cryptic Command. Izzet-Charm, a very good utility card in this deck.
I've been very impressed with the power of Izzet-Charm. It's super flexible. We have a lot of mana in our deck, so in the late game, it's often just straight drawing 2 cards because you're looting away extra lands or ramp spells you just don't need anymore.
You got an Anger the Gods here, which is a tutorable target with your Bring to Light.
Yep.
And Anticipate here. We've seen you play this card in a lot of decks. We haven't seen it quite move into Modern yet. Where's its place in this deck?
I think, I know Serum Visions is awkward in this deck because you have all of these shuffle effects between Sakura Tribe Elder and Search for Tomorrow and your fetch lands, and that the scrying is just really bad with Serum Visions. Anticipate gets you the card you want right away as well, so in the late game when you're looking for that Bring to Light or that Scapeshift to close the door, you get it right away. It also allows you to hold up counter magic because it's instant speed, and then during their end step, if they don't do anything, you can cast that instead of just not having used your mana.
Right, whereas Serum Visions, you have to use it during your main phase.
Yep.
Kind of messes up some of your counter magic.
Correct.
Right. So you had been on Kiki Cord, you're now on this deck. You didn't play it much before Bring to Light. Where is this deck situated in the format?
Scapeshift is a deck that I've always really wanted to like in Modern, just because of the way it plays. It's a control deck with a combo finish, and I enjoy playing control decks. But sans the time when Dig Through Time was legal, this deck always felt like it was missing something. It was just a little bit too clunky, having these 4 4-mana sorceries in your deck that just didn't do anything if you didn't have 7 lands out. So I feel like Bring to Light really pulls it all together and maybe pushes us up to at least Tier 2, maybe even Tier 1 if enough people start playing it.
Right, and of course you made the top 8 of the Modern Premier IQ last weekend with this deck.
Correct. I didn't lose a match all day.
Not a bad thing. All right, let's take a look here at the sideboard. Get the big numbers out of the way first. 4 Obstinate Baloth.
Yep.
Just need a way to get around them taking out Scapeshift, as well as just a way to gain life, I assume.
Yeah, Baloth just serves a bunch of roles in this deck. All of your matchups that are really hard, except for Infect, Baloth improves a lot because they're really aggressive decks. And turn 3 Baloth into turn 4 Anger of the Gods is just backbreaking against a lot of those like Zoo and even Burn decks in the format. Because we have 10 ramp spells, we're very consistent at playing Baloth on 3, which usually means you can get in under Skullcracks and a Tarkus command, stopping your life gain. We also have a virtual 8 Obstinate Baloth post board with our Bring to Lights.
Right, so all of your sideboard cards get better with this deck because of the fact that you have Bring to Light in the main deck.
Yep.
All right, now you mentioned Infect's a tough matchup. Also notable, no Lightning Bolt in this build of Scapeshift.
Yep.
So I assume Spellskite here is good against Infect, also probably Boggles, things like that.
Yeah, super flexible card, modern powerhouse.
2 more Anger the Gods. Like you said, your tough matchups are aggressive decks.
Yep.
Then we get the Black Splash here in the sideboard. Slaughter Games, very powerful effect. A lot of people want to be running this in Modern just due to the wide swath of decks people can be playing.
Yep. I just played Amiel Blue Line Camera. It's very good in that deck. Take out their Primeval Titans, and they have a hard time beating you, so we can pay for most of their packs. I beat Gristlebrand with it last weekend in the 5K. It's fantastic in the Mirror. It's good against Living End. Just like the list goes on, the number of Fringe and even tier 2 decks that it's good against.
Pretty good target with Bring to Light as well when you only have the one copy. Okay, some other things, we see some Affinity hate, Enchantment hate, Croson Grip, Shatterstorm, Nature's Claim, that kind of stuff. Negate, Engineered Explosives, but another one, you said you just added Glen Elendula Archmage to your deck this weekend, right?
Yeah, this is the first time I'm playing that card. I haven't gotten to put it out yet, but its effect seems very potent, being able to bring to light for a counterspell. There's a lot of times when you're playing against like Twin or Blue Mirrors where they tap out for something important, and then if we untap and bring for a double counterspell because we can't quite combo off yet, then when we can combo off, we just got this double uncounterable counterspell sitting on the table that they just can't interact with.
Okay. So what has impressed you most about this deck in your testing and now that you have one event under your belt with it?
It's very live off of the top. People that I talked to that played more Scapeshift than me previously said Jund was always a hard matchup with this deck. With 7 copies of Scapeshift, that's just not the case. Our deck's filled to the brim with ramp and cantrips, so we just put all of our lands into play and then we're super live off of the top to just kill them.
All right, well you heard it here. Jeff Hoogland approved. Scapeshift is where you want to be. Thanks for joining me here in the sideboard. Stay tuned to StarCityGames.com all weekend long for the action here in Dallas.